So I get a lot of comments along the lines of, why do you talk about this? There's bigger issues. Or irritation that I may have made a video somewhat outside of my kind of main two topics of religion and trans content. Well, I don't really think I need to justify what kind of topics I personally want to make videos on. I do want to talk a bit about the reasons that I have this channel and why I make the content that I do. This will be a more personal and shorter video than my others, and I totally get if you just don't care about this. So if that's not what you're here for, then I hope to see you in the next one. I totally get it. But for now, let's just get into it. So I'm going to give a tad bit of background because I actually had another channel before this one. It's still technically up, it's just inactive. I started YouTube in high school, not really with any intention of anyone seeing the content, but because I'm also an animator, and I wanted somewhere to save things that I spent a lot of time on, basically, and if someone saw it and liked it, then cool, yay. I've been a very dedicated fan of the Warrior Cat series since I was in elementary school, and consumed a lot of the 2000s and early 2010s Warrior Cat animations. I'd been making them myself since I was around 4th grade as well, but not posting them. My animation channel would go through phases of being dead to being super active, but around 3 years ago I started getting some traction on a small little series of animations I did, animating warrior cats to popular Vine sounds. None of them ever really did incredibly well in comparison to like the larger warrior cats community, but they did well enough that my name was mildly well known around the warrior cats community. So, off that, if you're aware of that fandom, you know that they argue about anything and everything since the early days of the fandom. So obviously some of my positions, namely being a trans medicalist, were pretty disliked in that circle. Even when that channel started to pick up a bit, I never really made any attempt to hide these positions, but I also never made content talking about them because it kind of felt like an, oh no, people subscribe to me for silly cat animations, and what if I lose this platform that I didn't even make on purpose and I don't know how to recreate? Because if I shift what kind of content I make, then I might lose that. And because of that, I made what I thought would be a side channel, this channel. I felt like I had kind of trapped myself in a box of not only creating content that wasn't what I wanted, but what other people expected from me. And I also saw no future in it because I didn't want to make it. While I still love animation and warrior cats, I am not a large fan of the community, and I didn't want my content to hinge on people that I really didn't like that much in the first place. When I created this channel, I very explicitly told myself I am not taking video requests unless I genuinely care about the topic. I'm not going to avoid making something that I'd enjoy making in fear that it may perform poorly, and I'm not going to censor myself in exchange for like the possibility of my channel being less niche and having a broader appeal. I'd also always kind of wanted to make this type of content since I started watching Jacqueline Glenn around like 2015, but as a kid I was too nervous to do that, and then like I said with my previous channel, I felt like I'd kind of trapped myself in a box where I couldn't make things I actually had wanted to since I was in high school. Essentially, this is where I info dump. This is where I talk about things that I care about, and if people want to watch that, then that's fucking awesome, and if they don't, then well, I enjoyed making it anyway. That's why I have quite a few videos that don't really fit the overall theme of my channel, even whenever they usually perform worse. That's why I have my GMO video, that's why I have my Handmaid's Tale video, and that's why I have like a 1 hour long ramble on my favorite documentary. With all that being said, while I don't create content based on how I expect it to be positively or negatively or not at all perceived, I do talk about things that I'm passionate about. I've made multiple videos on disability, and I assume this video would really only be worth watching to anyone who already watches my content, so I assume most of you know that I'm physically disabled. Another component to why I talk about the things I do is because I lack other ways of contributing to causes and activism that I care about due to my disability. While I have attended protests, it's very rare I'm able to actually go to them unless I get lucky and it lands on both a low pain day and a day where I have a sufficient amount of energy. I vote, but I don't really think that's enough. And while I donate where I can, I don't usually have enough money to be contributing in any way that I think is enough. So this channel also serves as my place to do that activism. While not all my videos fall under that category, I make a large portion of my content because it's the only way I feel I can tangibly impact things. And I know that it has, even to a small extent. I've gotten dozens or maybe even hundreds of comments expressing how a video either changed someone's mind or at least opened them up to hearing an alternative perspective. Comments like that are also part of why I make the content that I do. In addition to that, many of the things I talk about are either things that I have personal experience with or have been affected by in some way. So of course I'm going to talk about things that I can attest to personally over things that I don't really have the experience to be talking about. I'm also obviously going to advocate for things that I agree with. I get a lot of comments being like, well, why don't you talk about this perspective or that perspective? As though they expect me to advocate for things that I think are wrong. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to make a video talking about the good things that religion does, because I don't really think that there are any that at least are exclusive to it. I'm not going to talk about, well, here's how capitalism is better than feudalism, so it's, it could be worse, because I don't think capitalism is good. I don't expect everyone who watches my content to agree with me, even if they agree with some things that I say on other topics. I also really do appreciate comments from people who are religious or inclusionists or less far to the left than I am. I'm not only making this content because it allows me to do activism I can't do otherwise and spew my thoughts about things that interest me, but it's also given me a wider lens and perspective onto these topics as well. Ultimately, I do this because it allows me to talk about things that I'm passionate about, not because other people think I should be talking about this thing or that thing, or because someone else thinks a different topic is more important or would make a better video. While I appreciate that there are people who care enough about my opinion to ask for it outright, it can be kind of grating to have people tell me they're annoyed I made a video on something they don't personally find important, or be asked over and over and over again to make videos on things I just frankly think are non-issues or don't have opinions on. Therians. While I'm trying to take my channel and this platform more seriously as it grows and focus more energy onto the aspects that I feel are most important to me, that doesn't mean I'm ever going to change my approach to which topics I talk about or water down my opinions to make them have more agreeable appeal or to try and present perspectives that I think are ultimately harmful. I know this was a short one and kind of just a ramble, but my channel has gotten a bit faster growth in the last month or so, and it felt important to me to explain why I actually make these videos in the first place and why I do it the way that I do. To anyone who managed to sit through that, thank you, and I hope to see y'all in the next one. Ha det.
I stare at the populace in prayer. I look at 'em talking to the air.